Good morning, everyone. This is Neil Richardson, Chairman of the St. Louis Development Corporation Board of Directors. Welcome to the regular scheduled board meeting on December 14, 2023 at 9 a.m. Can you all hear me okay? I see Director Gilbert maybe shaking her head. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
great. Thank you. Awesome. So we'll go ahead and get started here. I think we may be missing a few commissioners, but we may have a quorum. So get the meeting started. Laura, can you please call the roll call?
Sure. Director Arnold.
Here.
Alderwoman Clark Hubbard. Let's see her yet. Alderwoman Spencer. Director Gilbert.
Here.
Director Spencer.
Present.
Director McBride.
Present.
Director Reed.
Here.
And Chair Richardson.
Present. Laura, can you please confirm with the directors that we have present? We currently have a quorum.
Yes, we do have a quorum.
Great. So with that, we'll move on to the first item on the agenda today. That's the approval of the minutes from the October 19, 2023 regular scheduled board meeting that was held via Zoom. I'm hoping that the directors had the opportunity to review the minutes. If there are no comments, I would like to entertain a motion to approve the minutes for October 19th. Do I have a motion?
So move, McBride.
Is there a second?
Second, Gilbert.
Moved by Director McBride, seconded by Director Gilbert. Laura, please call the vote.
Director Arnold.
Yes.
Director Gilbert.
Aye.
Director Sean Spencer. Director McBride.
Aye.
Director Reed.
Aye.
And Chair Richardson.
Aye. We also have, I think just joined us is Alderwoman Clark Hubbard.
And
Yes, good morning. I apologize.
Oh, no worries. We're calling the vote for the approval of the minutes for the October 19, 2023 regular scheduled board meeting. Just wanted to ensure that we notated your vote on that approval.
And
Aye.
President Richardson, I think we have something in chat that Alderwoman Spencer is also present.
Okay, Alderwoman Spencer is present as well. Sorry that we missed you, Alderwoman Spencer. We didn't see you join. We would like to also ensure that we notate your vote on the approval of the minutes.
She had been moved over from the participant section.
is she the following?
Oh, here she is.
Yeah, she.
Alderwoman, you're muted. There you go.
My apologies. I had followed the public link, so I was not a panelist.
Oh, sorry about that. You should have received the Zoom link. My apologies, Alderwoman Spencer.
I did. I was
Okay.
using the agenda packet, but I'm present and I vote affirmatively on the approval of the minutes.
Great, thank you so much for that. So with all voting yes on the approval of the minutes for October 19th, the motion is approved. The next item on the agenda is resolution number 23 SLDC 910, authorizing contribution to the St. Louis Agency for Training and Employment and Rankin Technical College, totaling $150,000 in support of the Youth Build Program grant cycle from 2023 through 2026. Presenting this resolution is our Senior Vice President of Economic Empowerment, Ms. Stacy Fowler. I'll pass it over to you, Stacy, to lead off the presentation.
Thank you. Good morning, Chair Richardson. Good morning, directors. I have the privilege of presenting to you a resolution authorizing contributions to Slate and to Rankin Technical College totaling $150,000 in support of their Youth Build Program Grant Cycle 2023 to 2026. As you are aware, the Youth Build Program recruits at-risk youth from high poverty, high unemployment areas of the city of St. Louis, offering opportunities to build basic skill development, construction skills training, life skill support development. This partnership with Rankin and Slate has been going on ever since I've been at SLDC, and I think it's even before then that we have been supporting this program. This morning, I did invite Shakima Hunter, who is the program manager running the program. I thought it would be nice for you guys to hear some of the impact and the difference that we're making by supporting this program. The $150,000 that will be that they're seeking is what they call the match for the money that they get from the Department of Labor for the Youth Build Grant. 25,000 of that will go directly to Slate, and then 125,000 of that will go to Rankin. 25,000 to Slate is their programmatic support, including like supportive services, transportation, leadership training for the individuals that go through the training. But the $125,000 that go to Rankin is for the construction and the material costs for the homes that they're building through this program. So today, if you approve this resolution, we will be supporting young people in our community who will, if they don't do construction, at least we know they're getting skills that will make them marketable so that they can go to work. Ms. Shakima, would you like to share some of your impact and outcomes this morning about your Youth Build program?
Sure. Thank you, Ms. Stacy. Good morning, board. So just to give you all some backstory on Youth Build has been around since 2015 in the city of St. Louis. It's an awesome program to give young people an opportunity to go back, and maybe they weren't successful in traditional school, but Youth Build provide a family-oriented environment that can not only provide mentorship but support to education and training opportunities. So this being a pre-apprenticeship program, they're able to get an industry recognized credential through this program that they'll be able to use this skill set, whether they choose to stay in the construction field and beyond. So this year, for this new grant cycle that we're speaking of, we will actually receive what is called the Construction Plus grant. And that grant allows the youth to go beyond the scope of construction, and we will now introduce CNA, CMT, and CDL opportunities to the youth participating in this program. This past grant cycle, we enrolled 67 youth, and of those 67 youth, 53 youth have obtained their basic safety. 14 youth have been able to receive the NCCER credential, and enrolled in the program at time of enrollment, 48 of the 64 did not have diplomas. And so right now, walking away, at this point, we still have 22 participants in the program, but 35 are walking away with a high school diploma or a high set. So Youth Build is an awesome program to reconnect our young people to the program. And it's just an awesome opportunity for community partners as well as the participants to be able to link up, gain skill sets, and develop mentors out of this program.
That's great. Thank you, Ms. Fowler, and also Ms. Hunter, for that terrific presentation and overview. The great work that's being led through the Youth Build program in partnership with Slate and Rankin Technical College. Are there any comments or questions from the directors?
Yes, President Richardson.
Yes, thank you.
How many participants are there each year through this Youth Build program?
So the Youth Build grant that we just received will enroll 64 participants.
So is it based on a cost per participant, or is it based on the number of participants that are interested in the program?
It's a little bit of both. So it's 64 participants that's allowed to enroll. Each participant receives $3,123 through the grant. And from that, each participant, how they are enrolled in the program, they participate in mental toughness to make sure that they are ready. So they participate in a 2-week long interview process where we're looking at commitment levels. Will they show up? Can they be here on time? Will they engage and participate with their new cohort members? And can they take direction from the instructors that they provide?
Oh, I'm glad there's a vetting process. If there's ever a
Absolutely.
situation in which you have enough participants that exceed the grant, at least reach out to SLDC to see if there's potential way to address that.
Absolutely.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Director McBride. It's tough coming from the port meeting to this one. I want to keep calling Chairman McBride, excuse me. But thank
I didn't
you.
even change the jacket.
I know, right? So thank you, Director McBride. Any other comments from the directors? Okay, hearing none, I would like to entertain a motion to approve resolution number 23 SLDC 910.
So move, McBride.
Second, Spencer.
Got a motion and a second. Can I have a roll call vote, please, Laura?
Director Arnold,
Aye.
Alderwoman Clark Hubbard,
Alderwoman Clark Hubbard, if you're speaking, you're on mute. Okay, well, let's keep moving, Laura. We'll come back.
Alderwoman Spencer,
Aye.
Director Gilbert,
Aye.
Director Sean Spencer,
Aye.
Director McBride,
Aye.
Director Reed,
Aye.
and Chair Richardson.
I also want to recognize Alderwoman Shameen Clark Hubbard's vote as aye in the chat as well. She's having some technical difficulties on her end, but she will be joining us again. So thank you. With all voting yes and aye, the motion passes to approve resolution number 23 SLDC 910. The next item on the agenda is resolution number 23 SLDC 911, authorizing funding to the Board of Public Service of the City of St. Louis for the 7th Street improvement projects. I'll pass it over to our Senior Vice President of Equitable and Inclusive Development, Mr. Rob Orr, to present this exciting resolution.
Thank you, Chairman Richardson. Good morning, directors. Resolution 23 SLDC 911 seeks authorization to provide up to $450,000 to the Board of Public Service of the City of St. Louis for the 7th Street Improvement Project. 7th Street project basically is from Washington Avenue to Walnut Street. It's been in development for several years. It was initially undertaken by Downtown Now back in 2015. Downtown Now was later absorbed into the entity that is now Greater St. Louis, Inc. Collectively, we applied for state tax credits from the Missouri Development Finance Board and were successfully awarded $400,000, which generated $800,000 in contributions from private entities to support the project. We also worked with the Board of Public Service, who submitted applications to the East-West Gateway to receive federal funding amounting to $2.4 million, and along with $600,000 from the MDFB tax credit program, provided $3 million for construction. $200,000 of the $800,000 raised by the MDFB program was used to do the engineering design, and it actually came in a little bit more than that, and Greater St. Louis generously picked up the additional costs for that design. The project was put out for bid in late 2022. Bids came in, the lowest of which was right around $1 million over the funding that we had available. Inflation has certainly impacted the construction and infrastructure industry, as well as other industries. And if you think about the cost differential between 2015 and 2016, 2017, when East-West Gateway provided the funding through the grants, that inflation was not factored in at that time. So we've experienced a significantly higher inflation than what was being experienced prior to that time. The bids were put out again this fall. The lowest bid came in at just under $3.6 billion. And then because of the amount that we agreed to provide between Greater St. Louis and SLDC, there was an ad alternate to do the milling, the grinding up of the existing roadway, and an asphalt overlay that we were not able to award to the contractor directly, but it's an expense that we're going to need to incur. This is a complete street rebuild, sidewalks, lighting, traffic signals, and of course, repaving of the street. So we are seeking authorization to provide up to $450,000 to cover 50% of the cost over and above what we had available from the grant funds and from the MDFB program. Greater St. Louis will provide the other 50%. And welcome any questions that you may have about this project, and appreciate your support for this funding.
Thank you, Rob, for your comments. And one of the things I wanted to note here is we are approving and authorizing through this resolution up to $450,000. As you all know, SLDC has been privileged to manage many of the American Rescue Plan Act programs on behalf of the city of St. Louis. And through that, we have also invested the ARPA dollars into several investment products to ensure that we are accruing interest on those dollars prior to them being deployed into funding programs and other investments that we have been authorized to execute on behalf of the city of St. Louis. We have accrued interest dollars in our accounts. And so we are actually leveraging the earned interest from the account to support this effort. We know that the American Rescue Plan Act dollars were targeted to support our HUD qualified census tracts and the programs that we have deployed as seeking to achieve that, and will continue to achieve those areas. But we also know our downtown St. Louis area has been impacted by COVID and other economic downturns in a very significant manner. And so we deem it appropriate for us to leverage these proceeds through the earned interest from the investments that SLDC has made towards utilizing these funds toward this project, this important project for downtown St. Louis neighborhood. And so I just wanted to ensure that the board of directors here for SLDC understood that, where these funds were coming from, and our commitment to downtown. As we know, downtown St. Louis is the economic engine for the region. So I would like to open it up for other questions and comments from the board of directors in regards to this resolution. Alderwoman Spencer.
Thank you, Director Richardson. I just want to thank you for recognizing how important downtown is. Of course, I know you've done that. This is not new, but this project is so important to our region and to our downtown area. I'm grateful to see us moving forward with this. Could we share with the board of directors the newest iteration of the plans for that project? I think it'd be helpful just to share. I know it's kind of had some different iterations over time, and just to have the most up to date would be very helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, most definitely. Rob, can you facilitate that request and ensure that we share the latest design for the 7th Street project with the board of directors?
I can, just as an FYI, it's a huge file, as you can imagine, many pages, engineering drawings, and so it will probably come through as a Google Drive link. But following this meeting, I will share that with the directors.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you all. Any other comments or questions from the directors? Director Spencer.
Just a quick one. With the approval of these funds today, what's the construction start and completion schedule? And
So,
thank you. And congratulations, Rob. I know this project's, 4 or 5 years in the making, so congratulations on getting here.
it's actually about 8 years. But
Oh my God.
Yeah, I finally get to cross one off my list. That'll be very nice. So Board of Public Service still has to go through its process. It received 2 bids here recently, and it has to review the bids to make sure that the math is accurate by the bidder, to make sure they're in compliance with all of the other requirements of the bids. And that process usually takes about 2 months, and then it takes about a month to circulate amongst all the offices and individuals who have to sign off on the construction contract. We are hopeful that a notice to proceed will be issued by, I'm hopeful by March 1st, but April 1st is maybe more likely. It's sometimes difficult to get the contracts executed, so, but we're this spring for sure. And it's I think it's about an 18-month schedule. So by the summer of 2025, this should be complete. And we will work with the contractor to make sure that we have a minimal disruption to the St. Louis Cardinals in the baseball season, so that we're not tearing up the Walnut Street end of the project, on opening day, or hopefully if we're in the World Series in 2024.
Thank you.
Thank you all for comments. Any other questions? Okay. Hearing none, I would like to entertain a motion to approve resolution number 23 SLDC 911.
So move. Spencer, request a previous roll.
Previous row has been properly moved. Do I have a second?
Second, McBride.
Previous row has been properly moved and seconded. Any objections to previous row? Hearing none, the motion passes to approve resolution number 23 SLDC 911. Rob, congratulations again. 8 years in the making, sir. Cross that one off your list. Let's get it moving. Thanks. The next item on the agenda is resolution number 23 SLDC 912, authorizing funding to Main Street Laclede Landing for 2 studies related to the development of City Block 25. I pass it over to my Senior Vice President of Equitable and Inclusive Development, Mr. Rob Orr.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. Again, this is a project that we are seeking. I should make one correction. The organization's name is actually Laclede Landing, Missouri Main Street. In my resolution, it's called Main Street Laclede Landing, but I'm technically a little bit backwards on that, but it's the same organization. This project really is an outgrowth from the North Riverfront Open Space and Redevelopment Plan. Those of you who've been in the second floor atrium of our offices here at 1520 have seen the boards for many years. And this project is actually trying to implement one of the strategies that was called for in that plan, and that is to build density in Laclede's Landing. So Main Street, I'm just going to call it Laclede's Landing Main Street, has requested funding to provide for 2 studies for the development of City Block 25. And if you look at the graphic here, you can see that City Block 25 is adjacent to the south of the Martin Luther King Bridge. And it is a large full city block that is entirely a surface parking lot. If the resolution contains a slight error, there are 9 city blocks contained within Laclede's Landing. There are actually 5 of those city blocks that are either partially or completely a surface parking lot. We need to build density in order to add to the security and safety of the area, and to help revitalize the landing and all of the businesses that most of us are familiar with. It's a great location, and the first neighborhood really in St. Louis. And it has been neglected over the years, in part due to some other great improvements at the Arch, where it was somewhat cut off from downtown and from the Arch grounds during that construction phase. So what these 2 studies will do, one is look at what the cost of constructing a parking facility with mixed use incorporated. And we're thinking that it would likely be a residential mixed use. and it would include potentially some first floor retail, although there are a number of vacant retail buildings already on the landing. I think there's an opportunity for new retail that could help support the landing's redevelopment. So the second study will be to conduct a parking study, kind of a follow-up to the one that we did a couple of years ago that covered the downtown and also covered this district. It will be an update to that study to identify what's the right size parking facility. We know that Abstract Marketing, which is the biggest employer on the landing, rents parking many blocks away to the north of the casino, in fact, and shuttle employees to and from that parking. Not the most convenient or cost effective. Abstract wants to continue to grow. There are other developments that are being proposed and contemplated, at least one of which is not ready for public dissemination, but that also require additional parking. So we think that a mixed use parking with additional residential will continue the momentum and the growth of Laclede's Landing and its revitalization. And with that, I will entertain any questions.
Sorry, I was muted. I just want to thank you again, Rob, and just mention once again, out of the ARPA funds that we've received on behalf of the city of St. Louis, the majority of the funding, as I mentioned, has been targeted for our HUD qualified census tracts as they were disproportionately impacted by COVID. Out of the 3 Main Street Missouri programs that we have within the city limits, in South St. Louis, Dutchtown, and Delmore Main Street. The Clede Main Street is the Clede Landing Main Street program is the only Main Street program that is not within a HUD qualified census tract. However, we know there are challenges that we are facing on the Clede Landing as it relates to economic development and growth, and they were also significantly impacted by COVID with restaurant closings and other challenges in those areas. And so we, through conversations with Missouri Main Street, Laclede program, and others, including Abstract Marketing, the casino and others in that area, we've seen a need for SLDC in the city of St. Louis to support the revitalization of that area and neighborhood, as it will be critical to the success of, again, our entire region. So that's what brought us forward to this resolution today with community engagement, several meetings. I know Alderwoman Spencer was in a critical meeting with us with Abstract Marketing to kind of go through some of their challenges, and we will continue to respond directly to their needs in support of the other neighborhood associations and organizations in that area, to give them comfort that St. Louis and City of St. Louis and SLDC really value their business and their employees in this area and neighborhood overall. So with that, I'll open it up again to any questions or comments. I see Rob, you have your hand raised.
Yeah, just a couple of quick comments that I should touch on. One is that being a designated Main Street community with the Missouri program does not bring with it any funding. It literally brings technical assistance. So this program does not have a source of funding to help pay for these kinds of studies that will help lead to the revitalization. And then secondly, I will add that the Economic Justice Action Plan specifically calls for targeting key properties and surface parking lots in downtown and adjacent areas. We know that parking is not a very popular subject in the city, but it is necessary. And the one thing that this project will do, if it's successful and we can ultimately lead to a public-private type development, which would be a secondary follow-up phase of this, would be to eliminate a surface parking, create more density, and encourage potentially some of the other surface parking lots to also convert to either structured parking or some other higher and better use. So eliminating surface parking is certainly a win-win, I think, for all citizens and residents in the area. Thank you.
Thank you, Rob. I would like to recognize Director McBride's hand as well.
Oh, thank you. And then we mentioned Abstract Marketing in this resolution, how many employees does Abstract currently have?
I believe it's around, is it 450? Alderwoman Spencer may recall, or Neil. I know they have contemplated growth to as many as 1,000, provided that they feel safe and secure and choose to remain in this area. So, you know, that's one of our driving factors, is that they are a key contributor to the landing, and they are looking to double in growth over the next 10 years. So, but I know it's over 400, but I don't know if it's over 500.
Yeah, over 400 with the potential to get to 1,000. That's a good difference maker in the city, and I think I'm glad that we're making this a priority and addressing it. On these, is there a thought about ownership as to parking lots and things of that nature? Is it going to be city owned or private owned at the end of the day, or have we got to that point?
I think that's what we're hoping that the two studies will help us figure out. It could be that LCRA potentially becomes a partner in this. It could be the treasurer's office potentially, or some other entity. But in order to get to the point where we can consider what the capital stack might look like, we need to understand, I think, what those costs are. I don't envision LCRA building residential apartments, but the thinking is today, and based on some preliminary, very conceptual renderings that I've seen, it may likely be a residential, like a U-shaped building that would surround a parking facility. That's currently, and obviously connected so that the residents can enter their buildings from the parking facility itself, but they would actually be two separate facilities which could have separate ownership.
Understood. Thank you.
Right. And per our meeting on August 15th, 2023, with the COO of Abstract Marketing, they noted they have 550 employees downtown across 3 buildings in that area. So again, a very significant employer for the city and contributing to our tax base. So again, just trying to ensure that they are supported and other businesses in that neighborhood. With that, I'd like to entertain a motion to approve resolution number 23 SLDC 912.
Chairman, if I can interrupt just
Yep.
quickly, I've got a text question. City Block 25 is owned by St. Louis Parking. I have been in communication with them. They are very open and have expressed for many years a willingness to work with the landing to potentially develop this site, but it is privately owned and they are in the parking industry. So it would potentially be a natural partnership if they were to become involved in the ultimate development. Thank you.
Sounds good. Any other questions, comments before a motion is made? Hearing none, do I have a motion to approve resolution number 23 SLDC 912?
So move, Gilbert, call for previous roll.
Previous roll has been properly moved. Do I have a second?
Second, McBride.
Previous roll has been properly moved and seconded. Any objections to previous roll? Hearing none, the motion passes to approve resolution number 23 SLDC 912. Next item on the agenda is resolution number 23 SLDC 913, authorizing and approving the issuance of a RFP for qualified firms or organizations to provide urban planning and design consultant services to support the completion of the Project Connect Our Plan neighborhood planning process. With that, I'll pass it over to our Vice President of Neighborhood Transformation, Mr. Darrell Smith.
Good morning, everyone. It's an honor to be before you with this amazing Project Connect. This resolution will authorize the issuance of the request for proposal for consultant for the final phase necessary to accelerate and complete the Project Connect Our Plan neighborhood planning initiative. And so there's 6 neighborhoods that we've been working with, and we want to make sure that we finish what we started. There's 9 phases in the planning process. 7 of those phases have been completed. And we need to finish the 2 phases with this RFP with a consultant. And so we're excited. We've done a tremendous amount of community engagement. We've had consistent participation from the different community residents, and they are excited about moving the work forward. Unfortunately, we had to discontinue a contract with our previous consultant. The community didn't feel that their voice was being heard, and that we needed to have something that was more community driven. And so we want to move forward with a new consultant and finish this neighborhood planning process. And so if there are any questions, yes, sir, go ahead.
Yeah, Darrell, if you can speak to kind of where this funding will come from to support this additional effort, understanding that, you know, the previous funds for the first 6 phases, 7 phases have been paid out through the bonds issued from NGA to support the neighborhood engagement process. And now we're getting to the final stages of completing a plan that can be presented to the Planning Commission, right? A more formal and legal plan that can be adopted for those 6 neighborhoods surrounding NGA. So this is a critical component where there's some technical pieces that need to be added, as well as elevating the voices of the community in a very significant way, so their needs and desires are heard. But this funding is being supported through a different source. So if you can speak to that in greater detail for our board, that would be helpful.
Sure. And so the request is for $420,000. And because our partners at CDA understand the value of our neighborhood plans, the funding source for this procurement is a 2024 Community Development Block Grant. Funds allocated to SLDC by the Community Development Administration, and it's outlined in Board Bill 131.
Yes. So just for the edification of the board here, again, these are funds that have been approved by CDA in partnership with HUD, as well as by the Board of Aldermen, authorizing SLDC to leverage these funds for to complete the neighborhood planning process for the 6 neighborhoods surrounding NGA. So I just wanted to ensure that the board was aware where the funding was coming from to support this effort, and we're excited to get through this final phase. Any questions from the directors in regards to this resolution? Director Spencer.
Thank you. Vice President Smith, just a couple of questions. One, I think we saw maybe 2 months ago, I don't think it was a neighborhood plan, but maybe it was presented that way for St. Louis Place and Jeff Vanderloo with the assistance of Legal Services of Eastern Missouri. How do those plans maybe interact or provide some context for the other neighborhoods that need to be part of this overall neighborhood plan? And number 2, maybe you could speak to how this type of plan may lead to additional funding opportunities, because we know we don't need more plans on the shelf, and we need funding to be able to implement these plans. And I think that should be part of this process too. And thank you.
Thank you, Sean, for the question. Yes, so as a part of this process, we are definitely taking into consideration how important it is that these neighborhoods are working together in a cluster because of the impact of NGA, and making sure that all of the things that are going to happen, that it includes the residents that are currently there. What we have found is that each neighborhood will have their own plan that will be adopted. What was your second question, Sean? I'm sorry.
Just about where the potential funding opportunities might be with the plan. But the first question was about the St. Louis Place and the Jeff Vanderloo plans that came in front of us a couple of months ago. You may not, Neil.
Yeah, I was just going to say I was more involved in that, Director Spencer. So I'll address that first question. So
yeah.
The redevelopment plan that was proposed by the St. Louis Place and Jeff Vanderloo neighborhoods were for the purpose of ensuring that their voices were heard as it relates to some of the challenging properties, the vacant properties within that redevelopment area, and ensuring that LCRA had the appropriate tools at their disposal to remove blight. So it was really updating the blighting study for that area, entire redevelopment area, recognizing it as being blighted so we can bring the necessary tools to remove that blight. So that was one of the first stages, as that previous redevelopment plan had expired. And so as we're looking to hold landlords and other absentee real estate owners accountable, we wanted to ensure that we had those tools, and the community wanted to ensure that as they were making decisions as to what type of development they want to see in particular areas, that they were able to have those tools at their disposal. But they also wanted to ensure that they protected the current residents, whether it's a homeowner that's been there for 25 plus years, or a business owner that had been previously there and still there today, that they're not displaced as a result of future development coming to that area. And so what that redevelopment plan established was a set of principles, I would say, around how the city can support those redevelopment projects and opportunities and those tools. However, there is more that technical information that goes into an actual plan itself, a neighborhood plan itself, from zoning and uses of particular sites. And so as we are going through this process, we've been educating the community on, what is zoning, what are the different types of zonings that we have in place, what are ways in which you can achieve your goals, whether it's a commercial district or residential neighborhoods. How do we devise plans to be able to support the growth of that area? And so that will be the next phase. So the first redevelopment plan was really about authorizing LCRA to leverage its necessary tools to remove that blight for unoccupied sites. This next piece around future development, it allows us to assemble those sites and make sites more contiguous to make them available for larger redevelopment projects that are in line with what those neighborhood plans will be presenting forward. So as you talk about attracting an additional investment to that area, it will be upon us, LCRA, and the community working together to assemble strategic sites to be able to attract employers, businesses, residents back to that area and stay true to our commitment to NGA, as well as those neighbors and residents, that we will bring a vibrant community to the Project Connect area overall. So I hope that answers your questions, Director Spencer.
The tools in that redevelopment plan that we previously saw for St. Louis Place and Jeff Vanderloo neighborhoods was really innovative, and there's some great tools in there that probably should be considered with these new neighborhood plans and probably looked at, to be used down the line. That basically was my question, trying to connect what's already kind of been done and applying it to the new plans.
Yeah, it will be. Yes, it will be. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Directors, Alderwoman Spencer, I see your hand raised.
Thank you. I guess my question, just a little more clarity around the previous consultant, what the disconnect was and how we're going to be kind of making sure that doesn't happen in the future. I apologize. I wasn't aware of the previous consultant and kind of what happened there.
Yeah, no problem at all. So initially, Civitas and Stantec was the consultants that were working on these plans. And this was even before the NGA project overall started. It was really around doing neighborhood planning and engagement for the entire kind of Northside regeneration area. They were then folded into the NGA plan once NGA decided that those 6 neighborhoods, those 6 neighborhoods were going to be the epicenter for their new NGA West headquarters. they then moved forward with engaging Civitas and Stantec as part of that community engagement effort. And they were being funded by the NGA bonds that were issued to support the infrastructure, community engagement, and neighborhood planning. So they were really focused on a lot of the infrastructure projects, a lot of the initial planning that went around attracting NGA. And so as we are looking to move forward with engagement of the neighborhoods themselves and their particular plans around what they want to see, I believe the disconnect was really around not just infrastructure, but how do we elevate and empower those residents, businesses, and neighborhoods? And that takes a different skill set of being able to have those deep conversations with them, elevate those voices, continue to train them on the ground around those various economic development, like vocabulary and tools like zoning and land use and those particular topics to ultimately get us to where we want to go and make sure that the plans are reflective of what the community want to see today and long-term in the future. And so that's why we went a different direction with this next phase as we're getting into the actualization of the neighborhood plans and getting them adopted into the overall strategic land use plan, the comprehensive plan of the city of St. Louis, is we wanted to have a consultant that was more community driven and community focused in this effort. And so that's why we made this critical decision at this critical junction. I hope that responds to your question, Alderwoman Spencer.
It does. Thank you, Chairman Richardson. Lastly, just around, one of the things, and I don't want to speak for, I don't represent these communities, but one of the things I see missing is housing conservation and the requirement of having occupancy permits, holding landlords and property owners accountable for having adequate housing, standards. And so I'm hoping that we can include that. I'm not saying that it necessarily needs to be part of the outcome, but at least looking at it and making sure that we're doing our best to try to protect communities.
Agreed, Alderwoman Spencer. And that's part of the what the neighborhood plans will include is giving specifications on what is required for occupancy permit. Again, ensuring that they meet, the local ordinances, but ultimately ensuring that those particular houses within those neighborhoods also meet a certain standard as well. Darrell, did you have anything to add there? I know you and your team with Project Connect have performed over 100 engagements with communities, so it'd be good if there was any additional feedback that you wanted to add about that.
Yeah, I just want to add that the community is very engaged. They've taken ownership of these neighborhood plans and they're ready to move forward. They're excited about the work that we've partnered with them to do in terms of creating these plans and finishing them out. And they're already in a phase of creating other actionable activities once these plans are completed. To answer Director Spencer's question earlier, they're already moving forward 6-7 months ahead of us. They really just need us to kind of finish this process so they can move forward as a community.
And one of the other things I wanted to note is, as you all know, again, we've been working on the city and SLDC and our various development boards have been working to finalize these plans for several years, maybe not quite 8 years, but close to it, of getting this finalized. And this is the final phase. And so through this effort, we anticipate all 6 neighborhood plans to be adopted by our planning commission in the city before the end of 2024. So again, we're coming to the home stretch here. So we want to make sure that we get everything right, cross our I's and dot our T's, and community voices most important as we get to this last stage. So thank you. So with that, I would like to entertain a motion to approve resolution number 23 SLDC 913.
So move McBride, request previous.
Previous row has been properly moved. Do I have a second?
Second, Gilbert.
Spencer.
I heard Gilbert first. Sorry, Sean. Director Gilbert beat you to the punch. So we have the previous roll properly moved and seconded. Any objections to previous roll? Hearing none, the motion passes to approve resolution number 23 SLDC 913. And again, thank you all for those presentations. I know we have more to come, but those presentations really laid out the framework for the work that we are doing as SLDC to support downtown in our new near downtown area. So again, I want to thank the commissioners and the directors for their support on this as we continue to move forward to support our neighborhood downtown. So the next item on the agenda is resolution number 23914, authorizing contract with Baker Tilly LLP for development of a nexus study. Back.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Back in October 2022, this board allowed SLDC staff to request proposals from our shortlist for a nexus study involving affordable housing. Baker Tilly submitted a proposal for $50,000 for a nexus study. We were very comfortable with Baker Tilly. They revised our incentives program with a community scorecard and fiscal scorecard, so very comfortable with them. This project proposal would last 3 months. The nexus study or feasibility study would examine housing and economic conditions in the city and make a recommendation on whether a linkage fee program would be a viable tool for increasing the city's supply of affordable housing. What we have found that developers can make units for 60% and 80% in mind, but the lower units are difficult for developers to produce. So we possibly think this linkage fee will help produce those units in future projects. Happy answering questions.
Yes, thank you, Zach, for that presentation. And one of the things that we've spoken about here is we've updated our community benefit scorecard and others at SLDC and LCRA and our other respective development boards is, we want to have a consistent policy and practice for how we support development projects and assess development projects that are seeking incentives. And so with this nexus study, what we will understand is the connectivity between how these projects that receive incentive have an impact on our various redevelopment opportunities in the city, such as affordable housing and taxing districts such as the St. Louis Public Schools. From this study, it will help us understand, the nexus or the connectivity between those decisions that we're making and the impacts of those decisions, and also understanding if a project, again, like as Zach spoke to, isn't able to produce a certain level of affordability of housing in a particular building because of the financial markets, they can also have the option to contribute towards other efforts, such as supporting affordable housing, unhoused population, which we know is a challenge right now, but also other efforts as it relates to affordability of housing. But in order to have clear processes and even propose legislation, we would need for a study to be conducted and have a real analysis being completed. And one of the things I've also asked for, just for the board's edification, is for our assessor to work with our assessor's office, our staff to work with our assessor's office, to be able to understand over the last few years how the tax incentivized projects through tax abatement, tips and others have had an impact on our overall tax base. As we know, SLDC, LCRA, and our respective development boards do not approve tax abatements at 100%. So day one, those projects contribute to our tax base. But what we want to be able to assess is how much these projects have contributed to our tax base over the last several years as a result of the investment that has been made by the city of St. Louis by deferring portions of the full taxable rate on these projects over a period of time to ensure these projects are able to come to fruition and then contribute to their full taxable amount after a specific given time period. So those are the things that we are hoping to discover, that we will discover through this study, and then bring forth back to this board, and also work with our Board of Aldermen and our other public bodies to ensure that they have an understanding as they're drafting legislation to ultimately ensure that we have a more transparent, a consistent, and accountable incentive process. So with that, I'll pass it over to our Board of Directors for any questions or comments they may have about this study. Director Spencer and Director McBride, raise your hand at the same time. Spencer, I'll call you first.
I just want to commend you on that last statement of really looking at the historic context and reviewing, the scope of work. I think it's number 3 on the list. We've never done a study like that or a report on that before. So getting that information and having that as a part of the report is going to be very helpful for now and into the future. Part of understanding the affordable housing options in the city is really data collection. And I know that Board Bill 180 is going to have the rental registry or something along those lines. I think that's going to be helpful in getting better information. So just a statement that, let's build this so we can, update those numbers when we have, more validated and vetted numbers around, the information that we're looking for, because I do think that information is going to be hard to really get accurately at this point.
Thank you, Director Spencer, for your comments. Director McBride.
Yeah, no, I echo what Commissioner Spencer said, that this study is outstanding and necessary, but also do we have that data already in-house to review, or is there a need to go to a third party to create that for us?
So the data around the current impacts of the previous tax incentivized projects that were approved, is that
correct? Correct.
Yeah, so we would need to work with the assessor's office to gather that information, Director McBride. But that's our plan. I know they've changed their system and their way in which they account for taxes and those sort of things. So we want to ensure that we are able to gather that data. I followed up with my staff as well as informed Baker Tilly that information will be critical as a component to this report and study. But we will have to garner that information, obtain that information from the assessor's office. But we will continue to have those conversations with them to ensure that we gather that data as part of this study.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Thank you. Alderwoman Spencer.
Thank you, Chairman Richardson. Liz, I think taking a look at the affordable housing needs in our city is so important. Some of the concerns I have, in some of the recent affordable housing projects, is the enormous amount of public subsidy that goes into them, and the high cost of producing those units is just astronomical. I mean, looking at even projects that I love and support and want to see happen, the DeSales project, for example, those 49 units on South Jefferson are costing $300,000 per 1 or 2 bedroom unit in a city where you can buy 2 houses for that cost. And what it is that's driving that enormous cost, and how that compares to other cities of our similar, kind of economic makeup. I'd also like to take a look at, regionally speaking, we have the lion's share of our region's poverty here, and how that impacts our tax base and our ability to provide basic services to the citizens that live here. So there's a whole host of complicated issues when it comes to affordable housing, in my opinion, that need to really be part of an in-depth analysis here. And as well, taking a look at where the market rate is really needed. Our north side has a lot of affordable, naturally occurring affordable housing, and we need to be, making sure that the housing distribution, if you will, is sort of more equitably distributed throughout our city.
Yeah, I agree, Director Spencer. And some of those things will be identified through this study around the impact of kind of those projects, for example, of if the project, is adding affordability of housing, or it's not able to just because of the sheer nature of the cost of construction versus the rental rates and income that's able to be realized by that development project. That's, those are things that we will be able to understand. But I think some of your larger questions around the housing itself and the challenges that we face across the city and the region. You may recall that when the Board of Aldermen approved for $20 million to be allocated to SLDC for a citywide housing effort. A portion of that was contributed towards hiring a citywide housing strategist. And so we brought on that strategist late this year, 2023, to begin to develop that strategy and gather that data and information that you stated, and then bring forth a plan to the mayor's office as well as the Board of Aldermen for opportunities and the challenges that we see, and then ultimately investments that could be coming for us to close those gaps. I seen the Senior Vice President of Strategic Growth hand, Mr. Lance Knuckles, who holds the housing strategist on his team, raise his hand. So did you have any comments, Lance?
Chairman Richardson, you just actually spoke directly to what I was going to speak to provide that context that the housing affordability distribution is something that is being thoughtfully explored, but more importantly, that we're looking to assess housing from a regional perspective to really start to get at what is quote unquote the responsible share of where we need to distribute and locate housing affordability, both on the rental side as well as the homeownership side. So Alderman Spencer, we're definitely and thoughtfully moving forward to bring some information for not only this board, but the Board of Aldermen and the mayor's office to digest and to partner and create strategies moving forward.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Just the disconnect I see, when we talk about these affordable housing projects, going back to, just because it was the most recent one in my mind, the DeSales project, where we're looking at almost $300,000 to produce a unit. Almost all of that is coming from LIHTC or some public source. And then the disconnect between that and private development, which is almost exclusively privately funded, at a much lower cost to produce each unit with almost no subsidy. And look, when you look at tax abatement and other SLDC tools, the pushback we're getting from some of the members of the community, I think it'd be really helpful, to kind of try to really quantify what housing development really costs, where we need subsidy. It is in affordable housing, obviously, but there's also some need for that in the market rate if we want to have a city that looks like it has a diversity of incomes, like the region and the nation as a whole.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's all I have.
Awesome. Thank you for your comments. And definitely will continue to address those efforts through various ways and support by SLDC staff and partners. So with that, I'll entertain a motion to approve resolution number 23 SLDC 914.
So
Move McBride, request previous, second.
I'm really behind the times.
Previous row has been moved by Director McBride and seconded by Director Spencer. Are there any objections to previous row?
I think Director Gilbert may have left.
Oh yeah, she had a hard stop at 10 a.m. So let's just call roll call vote really quickly, and then we'll move on to the next resolution, please. Thank you.
Director Arnold,
Aye.
Alderwoman Spencer,
Aye.
Director Sean Spencer,
Aye.
Director McBride,
Aye.
Director Reed,
Aye.
Alderwoman Clark Hubbard,
Aye.
and Chair Richardson.
Aye. With that, the motion passes to approve resolution number 23 SLDC 914. For the satisfaction of the board, just wanted to note resolutions number 23 SLDC 915 through 918 are all annual approvals of capacity building and CDBG programs with the Community Development Administration. So I just wanted to give you all that high-level overview as we go through these next 4 resolutions quickly as we can, knowing that I want to be conscious of everyone's time today, but also provide enough context for the board to be able to make a vote on these resolutions. So with that, I'll pass it over to our Senior Vice President of Strategic Growth, Mr. Lance Knuckles.
Again, good morning, directors. It's a pleasure, as always, to present to you. I have the privilege this morning of presenting to you resolution number 23, SLDC 915. This authorizing and approving a Community Development Administration Program, Work Program Contract number 24-70-35 to fund SLDC Maintenance and Board Up Work Program for the period of January 1, 2024 to December 31 of 2024. This resolution would authorize and approve the execution of the Community Development Agency Work Program, again, 24-7-35 between SLDC and CDA to move this work program forward. This program is the value of $1,777,000, which is the ongoing program dollars to support the operations of LRA to execute the maintenance of its inventory, as well as support the overarching operations and providing resources that go over to our forestry partners to engage in the work. And so this is, again, a long-standing relationship and contract that we have with CDA that allows us to operate and execute our programs there. So I will pause and answer any questions that directors might have about this resolution related to the maintenance contract with CDA.
Any comments from the directors in regards to this contract? Okay. Hearing none, I would like to entertain a motion to approve resolution number 23 SLDC 915. We have previous row.
So moved, rest previous row.
Previous row has been moved. Is there a second?
Second, McBride.
Previous row has been moved and seconded. Any objections to previous row? Hearing none, the motion passes to approve resolution number 23 SLDC 915. Next item on the agenda, resolution number 23 SLDC 916. Back over to you, Lance.
Again, thank you, commissioners. I'm not directors. This resolution is seeking the authorization and approval of Neighborhood Commercial District Improvement contract number 245003 between the CD Community Development Administration for the contract period of January 1, 2024 through December 31 of 2024. This program, as you all know, has been a historic program providing dollars to support resident businesses across our city being able to access funds to make facade improvements to the exterior of their building. We're thoughtfully considering how we activate these dollars to support cities and businesses across our city to ensure that there's equitable distribution of how we engage and support businesses to beautify their structure and to attract business within their business operations. So again, this is a standing program that we're seeking your approval to receive these funds to launch and stand up a comprehensive facade program across the city. I'll yield the floor to any questions that any directors may have at this moment.
Director Spencer.
I can't remember your title, Mr. Knuckles, but I think it's Senior Vice President, so I'll go with that. Yeah, I've worked with this program forever, and I believe we've shifted some of the funds from this program over to the Neighborhood Managers Program. Want to make sure that that's correct. This is a program that's very difficult to administer because of the way that you have to use these federal funds to go and get competing bids and you know, with the contractors that can actually do the work. Do you see, was the money spent the way that you expected it to be spent last year? And are there any changes that you see going forward? And is this money limited to a certain geographic area in St. Louis City?
Director Spencer, that's a great question, and I appreciate the question. We have thoughtfully been engaged in discussion with CDA about how we activate this program in a way that allows us to not only remove some of the identified barriers you referenced, Director Spencer, but to also talk about how we might provide products and programs across the great city of St. Louis. And so we have had, I'll use the term challenges in executing the program in the past based upon some of those requirements. but we have also been able to explore in the relationship with CDA to consider how we might take previous year's funding and roll it in with this current year's funding for us to have a robust program to target in areas like Dutchtown and Gravois Park, where we know there's some opportunity for us to make stronger investments. I also know, would love to share with the directors that in the past, there had been some challenges about the execution based upon some approvals or letters of recommendation. So it did require us to explore either doing an RFP with the launch of these funds to remove any challenges that existed from the past operational practices, or we might be exploring launching a NOFA that might allow us a little more flexibility to be able to do some things. We are thoughtfully exploring whether or not we can leverage these funds in a way to target in relationship to our economic justice action plan around index areas 1 and 2, and then thoughtfully consider, can we focus this program in South City, where we know we would love to leverage up the amount of investment we have going on in that part of the city to support businesses in that area. So we feel good about the relationship we have with CDA Director Spencer and their willingness to partner with us to really explore. The one piece I do want to say is that there has not been a reallocation of this program to other activities. It is our desire to coalesce and bundle previous year's fundings with this current year funding to do something thoughtful and strategic to support our great city.
Yeah, look forward to seeing how you guys move forward with the concentrated geographies and working with the main streets that already have that capacity and know the owners and understand the needs is maybe one area to consider. But it's a great program if you can make the money work for you in the right way. So good luck.
Yeah. And one of the other considerations is Director Spencer is we've actually leveraged the economic development sales tax to support the neighborhood management team that was put in that budget. So this funding is separate, but we are planning to leverage and hire more support staff to help those businesses go through the process, as well as perform the monitoring associated with the CDBG facade program itself. And so we are ensuring that we staff up to provide that capacity building for those businesses that need it, and also ensure that we engage with the Main Street programs to identify uses for those funds that align with their strategy and priorities, to make sure that we are all aligned and moving things forward. But as Mr. Knuckles spoke to, again, this is about us supporting the entire city, and not just one area, understanding that, we are continuing to dedicate significant resources to North City. That is a priority for us, but then also being able to leverage other tools like CDBG and earned ARPA interest and other operating dollars that we have to support efforts that are needed to sustain and grow other parts of the city, including South City and downtown area. So we have a whole city to serve. So we're trying to spread the love a little bit.
It's only 79 neighborhoods.
Only 79 neighborhoods, right? So thank you, Director Spencer. Any other questions or comments from directors? Hearing none, I would like to entertain a motion for previous roll for resolution number 23 SLDC 916. Do I have a motion for previous roll?
So moved, McBride.
Second, Spencer.
We have the dynamic duo of McBride and Spencer again. The motion.
We have to get our name in the record so that shows that we were here.
Right. Any objections to that motion? Second, hearing none, the motion passes to approve resolution number 23 SLDC 916. Thank you, Mr. Knuckles, for the presentation. Next item on the agenda, resolution number 23 SLDC 917. I'll pass it back over to our Senior Vice President of Economic Empowerment, Ms. Stacy Fowler.
Chairman Richardson and directors, I have the privilege of presenting to you for you to approve our capacity building contract for a minority work program. I know you guys are aware that we have a plan room that we have had for several years, but through this work program that we're going to continue to do with them, we're going to have 2 locations. We have our location that is at 2731 South Jefferson, and now we have our second small location inside of the Northside Economic Empowerment Center. This work program, we're seeking approximately $100,000. This will allow us to continue our plan room services that we're providing to the community, and it will also allow us to do technical assistance workshops and assist those contractors with their bidding and estimating. So now we have a bidding and estimating academy. We have a procurement boot camp where we show our contractors how to look at vendoring opportunities beyond just their construction work. We're partnering with a couple agencies to help them understand Section 3 certifications. We do something called conversations with MBE, WBE contractors. So we keep our dialogue open with our minority and small businesses out in the community so we can hear the good, the bad, the ugly, help us figure out how we make the program more efficient and better for them. We also do something that we call our MBE, WBE meet and greet. That is like an orientation for our newly certified MBEs and WBEs. And then, of course, we have our capacity workshops. This falls, as you know, under Ordinance 70767, basically stating that we need to have a clearinghouse, we need to have our plan room. And so we're seeking $100,000 today if the directors would approve Resolution 23 SLDC 917. I'll open it up for questions.
Any questions from the directors? Hearing none, I would like to entertain a motion for previous roll to approve resolution number 23 SLDC 917.
Move McBride.
I guess it's my turn.
Yeah.
Second.
Second, we have a motion and a second to approve resolution number 23 SLDC 917 per previous roll. Any objections to previous roll? Hearing none, the motion passes. The next item on the agenda is resolution number 23 SLDC 918. I'll pass it over to our Chief Financial Officer, Mr. Charlie Hahn, to present this resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The resolution approving the annual administrative work program with CDA goes back 30 years, and the current year is the same as the prior year. It's $500,000. It will fund probably close to 20 people on a pro rata basis. For instance, 25% of my time is charged to this work program. Anyway, it helps with the overall funding of our personnel, and again, it's flowed smoothly for the last 30 years. As for your favorable consideration of this.
Thank you, Charlie, for that resolution and presentation. Any comments or questions from the directors in regards to this resolution? Hearing none, I would like to entertain a motion for previous roll to approve resolution number 23 SLDC 918.
So moved.
Second, McBride, request previous.
Previous roll has been moved. Is this and seconded? Is there any objections to previous roll? Hearing none, the motion passes to approve resolution number 23 SLDC 918. The next item on the agenda is resolution number 23 SLDC 919. I'll pass it over to our head of new market tax credits, Mr. Bill Say.
Thank you, Neil, and good morning, commissioners, directors. We are seeking authorization today to apply for a round 19 new market tax credit allocation from the CDFI fund. So among the many requirements and rules of the fund, it's required that we seek approval from the board to actually apply. This is not really an unfamiliar request. Most of the board has seen this. We've applied 16 times in the past, so we've been around the block with this one before. The notice of allocation was published in November in the Federal Register. The due date is the 19th of December, fast approaching next week, Tuesday afternoon. So we've been grinding away on this for many months. In reality, we work on this all year. I mean, we're constantly, looking for pipeline, working with staff to find the most compelling sort of mix of projects that we can do. And, it's a 12-month process, and you just can't really take your eye off the prize anymore. It's too competitive. The current pipeline we have includes 10 projects. Mixed use, manufacturing, not-for-profits, charter school, and a new category this year for us is affordable housing. We in the past have not had a track record at SLDC of doing affordable housing, but now we do, so we can include it. We used our 15% carve out and our pandemic 30% carve out to fund two transactions with affordable housing developers, Tabernacle CDC and Habitat St. Louis. Both developers have started their projects and they are building homes, which is good news. So anyway, we hope that we can make an impact with the new markets on the affordable housing scene. We've actually been contacted in the last couple of months by some affordable housing developers that we hadn't worked with before that are aware of the program and want to be involved. So I think the news is good and the exposure is really good for us. By the way, we are seeking 90 million in allocation authority. Anybody have questions?
No, I think, Bill, that's a great point. I appreciate you calling out our investment in housing development. For the edification again of this board, SLDC is invested, as Bill said, through the New Market Tax Credit Program and also through the American Rescue Plan Act in partnership with the Board of Aldermen and the Mayor's Office to support those two developers. And these projects are for home ownership opportunities. These are not rental units that are being produced. This is home ownership opportunities in areas of our city where the majority of the population is actually renting, and seeing development happen and mortgages now be originated in neighborhoods that have not seen new mortgage originations in over a decade is significant. So as Alderwoman Spencer spoke to earlier, our goal at SLDC to support economic development in the city of St. Louis to ensure that our housing stock is just as diverse as our population. And that's the goal here, and being able to leverage this tool of new market tax credit in a more innovative way presents us with the opportunity to achieve exactly what you spoke to, Alderwoman Spencer. So again, I want to thank you for your thoughtfulness and consideration for that, and continue to provide ideas and solutions for us to move things forward. But then also our directors for agreeing to allow us to move forward with this innovative approach. And it's been successful thus far. And we look forward to growing that portfolio of investments in affordable for sale housing. So with that, I'll open it up to any questions or comments from the directors. Okay, hearing none, I would like to entertain a motion to approve resolution number 23 SLDC 919 per previous roll.
So move, McBride.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any objections to previous roll for the resolution? Hearing none, the motion passes to approve resolution number 23 SLDC 919. The next item on the agenda is resolution number 23 SLDC 920, authorizing and approving extension of grant funding for the legal services of Eastern Missouri. I'll pass it over to our legal counsel, Mr. David Meyer.
Good morning, and I'll note that Director Reed and I are joining you from the technologically enhanced boardroom. Hopefully you can hear us well in here.
We can. Thank you, David.
So this resolution is authorizing a program that we have had underway now. This would take us to the 7th and 8th years of this relationship. SLDC has granted funds to legal services of Eastern Missouri in roughly the $50,000 range for the last few years as this neighborhood advocacy program commenced and then has been underway. I know that Peter Hoffman has joined us, and he is the lead counsel for this initiative and will probably tell us a little bit about what they have done. But I can suggest that it has been a vital program for many of our operations and programs. I was fortunate to work as, or be a member of a committee that Peter chaired to obtain significant changes to the state law that governs how tax sales work in the city of St. Louis. And I would safely say that if it were not for this program that SLDC has supported, and this was a multi-year initiative to try to get that legislation through, that legislative change would not have happened, and that enabled our state law to come into compliance with current legal requirements and enhance and hopefully improve the tax sales system. So I am a strong advocate of this initiative. And again, this is a program that SLDC contributes to in conjunction with many other sources. And the program provides support citywide for positions that Mr. Hoffman, if he wishes to unmute, can discuss further. That will be acceptable to the chair.
Thank you, David, for that overview. Is Peter Hoffman on the line?
Good morning. Yeah, I'm here.
Hey, Peter, did you have any quick comments? I know we all are familiar with your great service that you've done for the city of St. Louis thus far, but I didn't know if you had any other comments about the contract.
Sure, I can. I'll try to keep it brief. For those who I haven't yet had the pleasure to meet, my name's Peter Hoffman. I manage the neighborhood advocacy program. At our heart, we're lawyers for city neighborhoods. We provide free legal representation to city neighborhoods to help reduce vacant and abandoned properties in the city. We provide direct support to homeowners to help preserve homeownership by clearing titles, opening the door to other city services and programs like healthy home repair. We could not do what we do without the support of the city of St. Louis and specifically SLDC. I am incredibly proud of our partnership over these last 5 years, and I look forward to continuing this work in the years ahead. Every $50,000 a year contribution from SLDC has resulted in more than $6 million annually in investment in previously vacant and abandoned properties. We're incredibly proud of that fact. We've preserved more than $7 million in home equity for city residents, keeping people housed by resolving these tangled title issues. So I think it's important work, and I think we complement the economic justice work being done by SLDC, and I'm grateful for the support and look forward to this continued partnership. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter, and I know you all do great work and tremendous work on behalf of the city and SLDC. And I was definitely going to call out Alderwoman Spencer and Alderwoman Clark-Hubbard. I know, Peter, you and I have spoken briefly about the support that you receive directly from the other cities within the state of Missouri. Specifically, Kansas City has direct support from their city budget to legal services of, I guess it's Western Missouri, maybe. And, you know, that is a significant dollar amount, much well above the $50,000. And what you all have returned on your investment of $50,000 for the city through the support of, in partnership with SLDC, has been tremendous. So thank you again for your hard work. Alderwoman Spencer and Alderwoman Clark-Hubbard, I will try to find some time on your calendar for us to connect to see how we can, you know, greater support the hard work that has been started by the legal services of Eastern Missouri through a more formal relationship between the city of St. Louis itself, city of St. Louis proper, and the legal services of Eastern Missouri. So I just wanted to throw that out there. On open record, Peter, we were working together on that, and I know Alderwoman Spencer and Hubbard are strong advocates for housing in the city. So I look forward to working with them. So Director Alderwoman Spencer, I see your hand raised first, so I'll go to you.
Thank you, Chairman. I just wanted to just say thank you, Peter. The work that you all are doing is just incredible and so vitally important to our city. So just wanted to add that.
Thank you. Thank you. Director McBride.
Yeah, I echo all the good work that Legal Services of Eastern Missouri is doing. As I look at the executive summary, it looks like there may be a typo. I don't think it has any. I just wanted to verify. It doesn't address any action item that we're voting on. It looks like it says $50,000 rather than $100,000 payable in two $50,000 installments.
That's correct. It should be a total of 100. So yeah, it was probably supposed to take 50 per year. My apologies.
Right. I don't think we need to correct, but I just want to make sure that.
No, we'll that is it.
Okay, because it's not an action item, we don't need to bother with it. Thank you. That's all I needed. And thank you again for your good work.
Awesome. Awesome. Alderwoman Clark Hubbard.
I'm sorry for all my technical difficulties. Can you hear me?
We can hear you loud and clear.
Okay. I have so much stuff I want to say that I've been trying to say out of me, but I will definitely not miss this opportunity again to join in the accolades for the work that Mr. Hoffman and Legal Services of Eastern Missouri has done has been immeasurable. I know from my constituency base, and I will be looking forward to that call, right, that I'll be getting from you, Director Richardson, so that I can help support their works any way I can.
That's awesome. Thank you for that support again, Alderwoman Hubbard. Director Spencer, did you have another question, or your hand was still raised from the last?
No, I know I've spoken a lot today, but I've got to just tell you that, doing work for the last 14 years on vacant properties, the system that's currently in place with the building division and our inspectors does not work to move the needle on absentee owners. Only until Legal Services of Eastern Missouri came to us and started working on lawsuits on behalf of the neighborhoods in our organization did we actually see change and decisions being made. In fact, it's already happened 3 times this week for me. And these are properties that are 10 years vacant or longer. So, these are just, it's just really important work, and I hope you can figure out other ways to gain additional funding to support it.
Yeah. No, I agree wholeheartedly there. So Peter, again, I know you and I have talked, but thank you again for your commitment and your hard work, and anything that we can do to support you, we're here for it. Thanks again for your service.
Thank you.
Right. So with that, I'd like to entertain a motion for previous roll to approve resolution number 23 SLDC 920.
So moved.
Second, McBride, request previous.
Previous row has been moved by Alderwoman Spencer and seconded by McBride. So with that, is there any objections? Hearing none, the motion passes to approve the resolution. So that's the last resolution that we have for the year. And I'm excited about that. The next item is the report on the fiscal 2023 audit. And we'll have our CFO, Charlie Hahn, come back and give a quick overview of that. But just for the context for the board, the audit was conducted and completed with no findings. So I'm really excited to report that we have a clean audit, and SLDC and its agencies collectively have increased our fund balance through our various operations across our development boards and other operations, such as our new market tax credit program, by a total of $3.6 million in fiscal year 2023. So that's great to continue to see that growth in our fund balance as we continue to make investments in other staff resources, as well as in our neighborhood organizations, such as what we talked about with the Legal Services of Eastern Missouri. So I'll pass it over to Charlie Hahn for a quick update on the 2023 audit.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Do need to caveat your remarks in that this is a draft audit and it's not yet complete. It should be complete within a week or so, and we don't anticipate any changes, but what you said is completely accurate. As we know right now, what you said is accurate. just a little background. SLDC was formed in 1989. And prior to that date, each individual entity under SLDC did its own audit and did its own thing. SLDC was formed to bring all those development efforts under one roof. The chairman of each board that is asset holding under SLDC is a member of this board. The LCRA is one of those entities, and its chairman is Matt McBride. LCRA does blighting and selects redevelopment proposals, developers, enters into development agreements. It does public improvements, it issues financing, tax exempt and taxable instruments. The LDC is chaired by Laura Gilbert, who had to leave. LDC is primarily involved with the making of small business loans, and it receives funds from SBA, EDA, CDA, and any other source that wants to get involved in the small business lending. The PIE, the Planned Industrial Expansion Authority, is chaired by Sean Spencer. It pretty much does the same thing as LCRA, but maybe with a focus on industrial. The IDA is chaired by Gary Reed, who is present and not on the camera here, but is in the boardroom. IDA does bond financing in areas that I believe do not require blight. The LRA is chaired by Calvin Arnold, who also is present, and LRA is a proud recipient of all the tax sale properties that are not acquired at tax sale by the private sector. It owns 9,000 or 10,000 parcels. It's been as high as 11. The goal is to reduce its inventory, put them back on the tax rolls, and find developers for them. The Port Authority is again chaired by Matt McBride. The port manages and approximately 40 leases up and down the river from the Chain of Rocks Bridge to the River de Pere. And it is involved in the development of if need be, it can issue bonds and assist development in other ways. That's a quick recap of that. And then SLDC is kind of was formed as the administrative agency for all those entities. So it hired all the people to carry out the activities of those development agencies. And over time, it has done a number of things, including most recently, the recipient of probably 80% of the ARPA funds that the city has granted to SLDC. It's also granted some to LCRA and LRA, but it's primarily SLDC, this board approving all the major programs within that ARPA allocation. The audit before you is mainly a combination of the assets and liabilities and net assets of all those entities. And we need that combination in order to, for instance, apply for the new markets, which Bill just talked about. And at times when we apply for various other grants, they want to see us in total. The audit does provide for individual entity financial data on pages 33 through 36. And it provides both balance sheet and revenue and expense data. The report itself, as Neil said, the bottom line is the net fund balance, which can be interchangeable with equity or retained earnings in the corporate sector, went up 3.6 million, about 11%. And I, at this time, want to turn it over to the audit team. The partnership between Smershel Trelaw and Randall and Associates, Jeffrey Randall is here, Mark Graves is here, and they will briefly go through this rather large document. But again, it's that type of the skeleton of this is it leads off with our comments on Roman numeral 1 through 5, small Roman numerals, and then it gets into presenting the combined statements, and then the notes related to the statements, and then the individual agency report, the supplemental report, and then the federal funds report. So I'm going to ask Mark Graves to take over from here and go through that, but that's kind of, and I'll be back if you have any further questions.
All right, great. Thank you, Charlie. Hopefully, can everybody hear me? I'm hoping everything is working the right way.
We can hear you.
All right, fantastic. So good morning, Mr. Chairman and the board. I am Mark Graves with Smershel Trelaw. We are the independent auditors for St. Louis Development Corporation. First, I would like to thank the board for the opportunity to perform the audit for SLDC in 2023. As Charlie mentioned, Jeffrey Randall is here from Randall and Associates. They're our partner firm. He's joined us today. If there's any questions, he might be able to field. We also want to thank Charlie, Chris, and Joe and their entire staff for their diligence, their preparedness throughout the audit. Accommodations were made for us to be on site for the audit field work. So we're grateful for that. That makes the process a little more efficient. Everyone should have received a copy of the audit draft. And based on the timing, we are reviewing a draft, as Charlie said, but we will be finalizing that very soon. Our professional standards do require us to provide a few ground rules of the audit process. Our responsibility as the auditors is to express an opinion that the financial statements are performed and are prepared in conformity with generally accepted accounting principles. I'm happy to say that they are. The audit was appropriately planned. We did not deviate from our initial plan in any way. We've obtained an understanding of the internal controls of SLDC to determine the extent of our testing, but we don't do a special test or audit of internal controls during the audit. Management, you all are responsible for these financial statements themselves. That includes the selection and use of accounting policies. And I can tell you the policies that are in place are appropriate for an organization of the size of St. Louis Development Corporation, and they're being applied correctly. The use of accounting estimates also comes into play. So there are estimates like the collectability of receivables, expected useful lives of capital assets, the value of property held for development, and all of those estimates were tested and are appropriate at the end of the year. There were no audit adjustments that would indicate matters that could have a significant impact on SLDC's financial reporting process, which is to say the numbers you get throughout the year, you can rely on as being consistent for making your decisions. There were no disagreements with management concerning financial accounting, reporting, or auditing matters, nor did we have any difficulties dealing with management performing the audit. So the financial statement does cover June 30th, 2023. So I'm going to do my best to be brief. If you have questions, as Charlie said, you can mention them here, or you can follow up with Charlie at a later time. SLDC SLDC reports in accordance with governmental accounting standards board pronouncements. So there are in essence 3 sets of financial statements. We're going to look at the statement of net position on page 4 and the statement of activities on page 5, which basically provide 100% of the activity of SLDC. On page 6 is the balance sheet, and on page 8 is the statement of revenues, expenditures, and changes in fund balances of governmental funds. The difference between this statement and the previous ones that we're going to look at is these focus on more near-term inflows and outflows of spendable resources. So it's kind of a subset of that first set. And then finally, we have a proprietary fund statement on pages 10 through 12. And these statements separately report the activity of the parking facilities. So the Governmental Accounting Standards Board requires the management discussion and analysis, which Charlie mentioned. So these are on Roman numerals I through V, and provides kind of an overall review of SLDC's financial activities for the year ended June 30 of 2023. The MD&A provides a comparative amounts with 2022 with some narrative of the activity. And sometimes that's an easier way to review what happened during the year as opposed to trying to decipher the numbers in the financial statements. Now, if we move past the MD&A, you'll get to the independent auditor's report. The report is unmodified, which is the best possible report you can get. It identifies that the financial statements are in conformity with generally accepted accounting principles, and there were no material misstatements noted during the process. Now, SLDC is a component unit of the city of St. Louis, which means that the information in these statements is also summarized in the city's annual report. Now, SLDC is reported as a discretely presented component unit of the city, or in the city's annual report, to emphasize that SLDC is legally separate from the city. To move forward, I'm going to hit a few highlights pretty quickly for you. So the statement of net position on page 4, which is the assets, liabilities, and net position. And as Charlie said, net position is comparable to retained earnings or in a for-profit organization. So when we look at total assets at the end of the year, total assets were at 127 million, an increase of 40 million from last year. The increase is primarily due to $52 million increase in cash from drawing down the funds to administer the American Rescue Plan Act, the ARPA funds that you received. So we've talked about that in quite a bit of detail already. So those were the funds that were assigned to SLDC. Those funds must be encumbered by the end of December of 2024 and spent by the end of 2026. And you all are well on your way to doing that. The increase in cash was offset by a decrease in receivables of 12.3 million, mainly related to the decrease in the LCRA holdings receivable from the NGA bonds that you all were holding. So that $12.9 million was collected during the year on that receivable that was outstanding. Capital assets increased about just under $1 million due to capital improvements at the port terminal and the LCRA garages. And then if we move to liabilities were at just under $91 million for the year, an increase of almost 37 million. Notes payable decreased 14 million, similarly, primarily due to that payoff of the LCRA holdings note. So there was a reciprocal note payable with that note receivable. So when those funds were collected for those NGA bonds, you all paid down that debt to the city of St. Louis, and that came off of the books of SLDC. Other liabilities increased about 51 million, and again, that's due to the payable setup for the drawdown of the ARPA funds that will be spent over the next few years. So the assets and liabilities result in a net position of $35.8 million, with 21.9 million of that being invested in capital assets, net of your related debt. If we move to page 5, the statement of activities, this is basically the income statement. A couple of quick highlights. The statement presents the expenses first to really drive home the fiduciary responsibility that SLDC has to the citizens of St. Louis. Now, revenues were up 27.8 million compared to fiscal year 22, while expenses were up a similar 24 million. Again, federal grants increased $16 million, of which 15.8 of that were the ARPA-related small business grants, housing programs, and in establishing the Economic Empowerment Center. So those were the ARPA funds that were received and spent during the year. There was an additional $10 million received by LCRA Holdings for infrastructure improvements related to neighborhood streets surrounding the NGA. So the increase in expenses is directly related to those ARPA funds that were received and the NGA infrastructure funds as well. And then, as both Charlie and Neil mentioned, the total change in net position could kind of be looked at as net income for fiscal year 23 as an increase of $3.6 million. Now, as I said, the management and discussion and analysis mentioned earlier goes into more detail on some of the fluctuations between 22 and 23, if you would like to kind of reference that down the road. So to quickly kind of wrap it up, the following pages 4 and 5 are those additional statements that we talked about on pages 6 through 12. So they provide a kind of a more detailed look at the activities that we just went through. Then we have 10 pages of accounting policies, and those are the ones that we had talked about, that those are policies in place that are being followed by SLDC. And then we have another 10 pages worth of footnotes that break down the numbers in more detail. So if you wanted to see how our cash and investments broken down in investment vehicles, that information is provided in those footnotes. And then finally, as Charlie mentioned, there's some supplemental information as well. So the balance sheet and income statement of each entity is on pages 33 through 36. There's a schedule of federal expenditures, the schedule of expenditures of federal awards on page 37 and 38, of which we had 22.6 million this year. Again, largely in part to those ARPA funds that were received. So those were tested during our single audit. And there are various reports, there are a couple of reports following that are related to internal controls and compliance on those federal funds. We identified no findings in our single audit work, as Neil mentioned, so we're happy to report that as well. Now, clearly I've run through this in a lot of detail, and we've all been here for quite a while, but again, I'd be happy to address any questions if you have any. Again, it's a very long and detailed report. There's a lot of information in there. So I'm really not trying to gloss over anything, but if there were questions, I'd be happy to address them. But again, you can always follow up with Charlie as well, and we can follow up as needed.
Yeah, and thank you, Mark and Director. So we shared the draft budget with the directors here and others to make sure that you all had this information, and also with internal staff to review. Alderwoman Spencer, I appreciate your comment in regards to sharing it on the screen. Hopefully moving forward we'll be able to do that, but appreciate the comments there and noted. Are there any other questions, comments about the budget for Mr. Graves or Mr. Hahn while they are available to the group?
Neil, I forgot to mention when SLDC was formed, the board also included 2 key aldermanic committee chairs on that board. So we had the 7 development agencies, and the 2 key. One is the HUD's committee, the other is the Ways and Means, which is now renamed, I think, the Budget Committee. But I failed to mention that when I was talking about the formation.
No problem. Director Spencer.
Just a couple of things on the audit, and congratulations on achieving no findings. Great to see. One of the things when we go through our audits is just looking at next year and really thinking about maybe some of the challenges when the ARPA money is not around. And Mr. Graves, I don't know if you took a look at some of the current liabilities and maybe variable interest rates, if there's any concerns there with terms that might be coming up that we might want to keep on our radar, and just maybe speak to the ARPA money and how important that is to our current budget.
Well, and I think that really a lot of the activity you guys have talked about in the previous resolutions is just how vital that ARPA money is to the city. And again, you guys have really done a yeoman's job administering those funds. And as far as rates go, I think, again, you have a very solid team that pays attention very closely to what's out there. So we really had no concerns in kind of how that's being managed, how it's being utilized, how it's working through the program. So all in all, we really are very, very happy with the testing that we had performed. And like you said, that ARPA money is really just vital to the city. And, you know, we really are honestly looking forward to how that's utilized over the next few years.
Thank you. And just a point about you didn't go through the internal controls, and I think it's important for the board of directors to understand that the grant reporting on the ARPA money is critical to us being able to continue to use the funding, and we just need to make sure that we're paying attention to that, as all, you know, organizations that receive that funding need to as well, because we don't want it to come back to us later. So.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Absolutely. I agree with all of those sentiments. And one of the things I wanted to note, one of the other decisions that myself and Charlie have worked through over the last couple of years is ensuring that we diversified our investments across several banks, financial institutions, and not just having all of our funds aggregated in one financial institution itself, so we can be able to diversify our investments too. So again, that interest that we earn throughout while we have a positive, strong cash position, it's important that we're able to earn interest on those resources so we can make other strategic investments to support city activity. So that will continue. We'll continue to keep a strong eye on that. And kudos again to Charlie and Chris. I know, Sean, you have to leave in a moment, but I want to make sure before you leave, Charlie gave a great history on SLDC and our various development boards. And at our Q4 all-employee event, we recognized Charlie for his 45 years of service to the St. Louis Development Corporation, the city of St. Louis, and other boards. Even before SLDC existence, Charlie was managing these books in that transitional process. So I want to again recognize Charlie and his service. Charlie joined SLDC on July 10th, 1978, as a member of the city of St. Louis and the St. Louis Development Corporation in its previous existence. So again, I want to give a strong kudos and thanks to Charlie for his hard work and commitment of service and life of service to the city of St. Louis. Thank you so much, Charlie, for your hard work.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Thank you. So hopefully you're able to, again, we have Chris in the wings supporting us heavily. I know you've been enjoying a lot of time visiting your grandkids across the country here, and you have our support, and we thank you again for your great service to SLDC. With that, I'll go to open agenda really quickly. We'll try to get through this in the next couple minutes. Again, Sean, I hope to see you at the holiday party on Friday and other directors here. We've invited the directors as well as of SLDC, as well as the other directors and commissioners from our other 9 respective development boards. So hope you all are able to join us for the party tomorrow night at City SC Stadium, and look forward to hanging out with you all. But I'll move over to the Positively St. Louis video for the month, and then we'll close it out with a couple more updates. Thank you.
St. Louis City SC is one of the few clubs in the world to have its main stadium and training facility in a single urban city center location. But how this project became possible started with a strategic focus on infrastructure and economic development. Fox 2's Kelly Hoskins explains on this edition of Positively St. Louis.
The St. Louis Development Corporation has paved the way for 2 major infrastructure projects to reignite development in downtown West.
It's exciting.
Rob Orr, the Senior Vice President of Real Estate Development with St. Louis Development Corporation, says St. Louis is a sports city and downtown is a mecca for fans. City Park in downtown West is home to a new MLS team. SCO Construction helped build the $461 million purpose-built stadium in February 2020 and was completed for the start of 2023 MLS season. The city leaders say the new stadium anchors an emergency mixed-use district in its downtown west neighborhood. SLDC continues to invest in public infrastructure to make projects in downtown come to life.
So St. Louis Development recognizes that infrastructure can lead to development. And so improving the streets and the sidewalks and the walkability of neighborhoods adds to the safety that the public realizes, and we look to invest in infrastructure to help support economic development.
The 22,500-seat facility was built as urban infill, taking over a vacant piece of land once reserved for a highway extension. The abandoned I-755 interstate connector would have connected I-44, I-55, and I-64 and I-70, while disconnecting neighborhoods along the way. City leaders decided to fix what they say was an insufficient, poorly designed ramp system and the reconfiguration of I-64 interchange at Jefferson Avenue. It freed up 31 acres for new development where City Park is now.
We are spending about approximately $145 million literally on streets. So we're doing the I-64 Jefferson interchange, Jefferson corridor, the city streets that are connected to the I-64 Jefferson interchange. We're also looking at Cass Avenue. We're about to go out for bid for 20th Street from Market right here all the way up to St. Louis Avenue. There'll be a bicycle path along that stretch of roadway. And so the $145 million is literally to the benefit of the residents and the opportunities that we have here in downtown West.
The stadium, along with St. Louis City's SC's headquarters, training facility, and team store, are all co-located on 32 acres in the downtown West District, weaving the typically mega-sized facility of professional sports into the fabric of an existing neighborhood.
Thank you, Sarah. I appreciate the wonderful video that you shared with us. I know we had a couple more items on open agenda that we wanted to announce. Sarah, did you have those other items that you could bring up really quick for us? Also, I just wanted you all to be aware that SLDC, in partnership with Advanced Manufacturing Innovation Center of St. Louis, broke ground on a $60 million project that will bring some of the top advanced manufacturers from across the world to North St. Louis City to support prototyping, workforce development, other efforts. And then also LCRA, our agency of SLDC, moved forward with acquiring 150,000 square foot building and 29 vacant parcels for the future development of a world-class workforce center in the heart of North City that will be combined with the Advanced Manufacturing Innovation Center to become the Advanced Manufacturing Innovation District. So really excited about the future of that development project as well. We also wanted to give a quick update that on January 9th, 2024, will be our 1-year anniversary of the Northside Economic Empowerment Center. I feel like it's taken a life of its own and provided some great support to the residents and the businesses within North St. Louis City and really across the region to provide capacity building and other technical assistance support to those businesses. So with that, I'll open it up to any last comments or items from the board. Hearing none, thank you all again for joining. Our next regular scheduled board meeting will be Thursday, January 18th, 2024. With that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn our final meeting for the year and hope you all have a happy and safe holiday and look forward to seeing you all tomorrow at the holiday party. So do I have a motion to adjourn? Okay, well, I use the power vested in me to make a motion to adjourn the meeting. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Alderwoman Clark Hubbard. You all have a great rest of your day and I hope to see you all tomorrow. Thank you.
Mr. Neal, actually, right after this meeting, we have to do the new, the tax credit portion with Bill Sutton.
Okay, who all is needed for that meeting?
We need a quorum of SLDC, I believe that's it, and Bill.
Okay. Do we have a quorum? I'm trying to see here. So that meeting is adjourned. I think so. We have Alderwoman Clark Hubbard, Director Arnold, myself, that's 3,
Still here.
that's 4.
We need 5.
Okay, I can try to reach out to somebody.
And Neil, why don't we try this in January? When we have a quorum.
Do you need to go today?
Doesn't have to. I can wait.
Okay. Well, let's attempt to get that done in January, team, and just make sure that we keep that quorum. I know today was a very long meeting with all of these resolutions, but Bill, if this doesn't hold up your application or anything else you need to do, then
Nope. We're ready to submit. So yeah.
Okay. Awesome.
Good stuff.
All right,
Thank
well,
you.
we'll get this done for next month. I apologize about that, Bill.
No worries.
It was a little long today, but thank you all for staying on, and again, see you all tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you.